Welcome back. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to honor a father, a husband, a warrior, a police officer, and a friend who took his life last January due to all the pressures that he was holding in and all the stigmas of why we don't get help. So his name is Bryan Gray. I went through basic training all the way through the Special Forces Q course with him. Outstanding individual. He was one of my best friends in the Q course. And if there's one thing that I remember about Bryan, it's his ear to ear smile. Like that dude had one of those contagious smiles that he would just walk in the room and you'd feel better about yourself. You'd feel better about how your day is going. Like he just had that ability to make any situation better. Even when we were wet, cold, and low crawling in the mud, Bryan would be there cracking jokes and making everybody's spirits brighter. So that's the kind of dude he was. He was extremely humble, extremely selfless, and extremely compassionate, and really cared about the person to his left and to his right. And we can extrapolate a little bit from that because I see a lot of the same traits that he has, I have as well. And we both kind of fell into, well, clearly we both fell into the mental health struggles and mental health traps. And a big reason for that, in my opinion, is because we don't like to put ourselves first. And that's a common thing that I see and that we have as a society is we put ourselves last, which leads to us not feeling like we can speak up, and we feel like a burden because we're so used to putting others first and not making our problems important, right? Or you don't want to burden somebody with our problems. So that's a stigma. You're not a burden. Your life is important. People need you and people rely on you, okay? But back to Bryan, I want to also just highlight the fact that this dude was not weak by any definition of the word weak. All right, quick story. So we're in Special Forces Assessment Selection, SFAS, and we're going into the STAR course. So we're going into land nav, which is, I think it's 10 hours all at night. You have to find 4 points, and you literally just have a rucksack, a compass, and a map. And once the clock starts, you go and you start finding your points. You're all by yourself. You don't get to talk to anybody or use roads or do anything like that. But anyways, so we take off on the STAR course. We don't know what's happening to everybody else, of course, but here's the story. Here's Bryan's story and what happened to him on the STAR course. So Bryan was a physical stud, by the way. He was always in the top 5% of our class in everything we did, whether it was running, rucking, whatever. He was always up there. So he takes off on the STAR course. We're doing land nav, and he's running through the woods, crushing it. He finds his first 2 points in a quick time, so he's on pace. He's doing a good job. On the way to finding his 3rd point, if you're not familiar with North Carolina or the Fort Bragg area, there's just random snake holes everywhere, just random holes that obviously at night you're not going to see them, and sometimes they're covered by brush. So Bryan's running to his 3rd point. One of his legs goes into one of those holes, into one of those snake holes. So he's running, and one leg obviously is down, and the other leg keeps going. So with a 50-pound ruck on his back, 50 plus, whatever, he falls straight forward, lands on a stump. So a big stump is essentially like blunt force trauma to his abdomen and to his chest. One of those things that would knock you out and make you think like, shit, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, am I going to be able to even stand up after this just happened? So what does Bryan do? Instead of just sitting there or radioing in or trying to find some help, Bryan says, shoot, I only have 4 hours or 5 hours to find my next 2 points. This is going to really suck, but I'm going to do it. And that's what he did. Bryan literally found his last 2 points and finished the STAR course successfully within the time limit with, I think, 3 broken ribs. Like, that's the kind of dude he was, okay? So this whole facade that mental health is weakness is the biggest load of bullshit, like, I have ever heard in my life. And it sucks that culture tells us that that's how we should feel when we're depressed or when we're having suicidal ideations, is we should feel ashamed of what we're going through. That's literally killing people. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of his situation, but I can make an educated guess based on what I went through and how close I got to making that decision, that that is what happened. That he was struggling, he was carrying burdens, carrying all this weight on his shoulders, and didn't have an outlet, didn't have anyone to talk to, or didn't feel like he could talk to anybody and get himself out of that pit that he was in. I say all this to, one, reinforce that the stigmas are bullshit. They're lies, and they are barriers in the way that are causing people to take their lives every single day. So the gravity is serious. And two, I want to truly honor Bryan Gray, because he was an incredible person, and it's a tragedy what happened. It's a tragedy that he got to that point. And it breaks my heart, to see that he left behind a wife and a daughter, right? She's going to have to live her whole life wondering what kind of dude he was. And he was an incredible dude. And it's just heartbreaking to know that she's not going to know that. Like, all right, I'm going to get off right now because I'm getting emotional, but you guys understand. You understand what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm trying to get across. So this stuff's serious, and it takes more than just me, as I keep saying. It takes an army, and it takes cultural change for people to stop taking their lives. So let's make an impact, and let's take this stuff seriously. Thank you.